Case number 15045, WELBY Builders LLC, Donna Gillespie, manager for a variance finding to construct a 5-unit, 3-story residential development on the premises 113 Elm Street. The applicant and representative here. Counsel, you have the floor.
Mr. Chairman, good evening. For the record, my name is Christopher Harrington. I represent Donald Gillespie, who's the applicant in this case. We have been working with our neighbors at the Elm Street Townhomes Condominium, which is right next door to us, and agreed to some changes to the site plan, and those changes are incorporated into this revised plan. Mr. Chairman, this is a request for a finding and dimensional variances to construct a 5-unit, 3-story residential development in Residence B zoning district. The subject property that we're talking about, this is a piece of property. The house was built in 1880, and when this house was first built, all of the land out to Elm Street was part of this house. The previous owner of this home, in a 1919 will, left the front portion of the lot to a relative in her will, reserving for herself a 14-foot right-of-way from the house out to Elm Street. So what we have is we have a non-conforming home that's had access to Elm Street via a 14-foot right-of-way for approximately 100 years. It predates zoning, it predates the subdivision control law, which would have required at least 20 feet of frontage on Elm Street. So what we're proposing to do is, we're proposing to tear down the existing house. It's a terrible house, it's in a terrible condition, it's been posted an unsafe building by the city of Quincy. It's 3 units, it's a rental property. And right now, this 3-unit building accesses Elm Street via this 14-foot easement to Elm Street. The property was in foreclosure. It was purchased by a couple who were planning on having it as an investment property, and Mr. Gillespie put it under agreement with them to build these, what we consider these beautiful new townhouses that are a far better option than a 3-unit rental property. The proposed development is 2 more units than what's there right now. We're changing from 2 units to 5 units. It's a vastly improved property compared to what's there now, much higher values. Market rate condominiums, we're proposing that they be sold as condos to owner-occupied units. And in addition to the improvements to the buildings themselves and the increase in value, we're also purchasing an additional 9 feet from the property next door, which belongs to Mr. Flavin, and adding that to our 14-foot easement. The reason why we're doing that is to have an easement that totals 23 feet. So we're adding the 14 feet that we have now, plus an additional 9 to give us a 23-foot easement. That will give us a 3-foot landscape strip on the side of the driveway with a 20-foot driveway in and out of our property, so that we can accommodate 2-way traffic up and down the driveway. We're planning on installing new lighting all along the driveway. Our proposal is that the new condominium at 113 Elm Street would be responsible for maintenance, insurance, snow removal of the easement, as well as the landscape strip on the side. And we have our civil engineer here is with us. He's going to talk about the design for the stormwater management on site, as well as the improvements to the easement. I will let him speak to those issues before I continue and finish. Thank you.
Counsel, on the 9 feet, who'd you buy that from?
Mr. Flavin.
Which is,
Ed Flavin.
what address?
He owns the property here at 103 Elm Street. So he's
So
going
that's the apartment building?
there are apartment buildings here with a parking. He's gonna
Thanks.
Yep.
Thanks.
All right, good evening, members of the board. The drainage design is a pre and post design where we have designed to control the off-site flow of stormwater. Currently, from the site, stormwater runoff runs in this direction, and there's a storm drain right here that picks up all the surface discharge. What we're gonna design this is we're gonna design a stormwater with on-site retention. It's gonna have treatment. It'll have a recharge, which is a very important component of the runoff system. This will be done with subsurface structures, so it'll be aesthetically sound. It will be, wouldn't be maintenance free, but the maintenance is very routine and economically viable, which of course is very important. And it tends to recharge the groundwater, which adds purity to the groundwater. It also mitigates the impact off-site. So the drainage pattern, when it's all done, will continue to go to the same structure that's there, but it will be doing it with a better runoff quality, and it will also be mitigated to have at least the same. Usually it's less, just the way it works out with the way that the design of the system is implemented. And,
What are you putting in the ground to make it better system than that's there?
it will be a subsurface recharge system, and what is typically done is precast units such as galley units. We've used those successfully, and we'll encase them with crushed stone, and we also have, we incorporate geotextiles, a non-woven geotextile, which is an infiltration blanket, if you will. It'll surround the crushed stone so that earth and sediment won't migrate in between and clog the porosity of the system.
So how big of an area are you gonna help for the area for the runoff of that site?
Well, you can see the area of the parking lot right in here. It will occupy a space, you know,
Square foot?
it would probably be on the order of 30 by 35.
So you don't have nothing yet that you know you're
It's
gonna
just-
put in,
right.
just roughly?
Right, it's been preliminary. That will be finalized on the site plan review.
Okay. Any questions?
So council, you already have this deal with the Flavins, that's already done?
Yes.
Okay. And so in other words, our engineer friend here is saying that this is going to be a much better system than what's there right now, because there is no system.
Right.
Yeah.
On that lot, right?
All right, I have nothing else.
So Brian?
Counselor, so the driveway will be exclusive to the 5 townhouses that are there? Not the ones that exist, but just the units that are potentially being built?
14 feet of that driveway is on land that's owned by the Elm Street townhomes. So for example, if someone was parked in front of Elm Street townhomes, if they were backing out, then they could certainly back, onto that easement area and turn around and pull out the property.
All right, so you're not gonna have your driveway separate from the existing, that's there with a barrier in between them?
There's no barrier, but
Okay.
what we're going to do, one of the things that residents of Elm Street townhomes asked for is we're going to install a cobblestone strip along the edge of the right-of-way, just to delineate that this is the Elm Street townhome side and this is the access easement to the 5 units that are out back. So that's shown on the plan right along here. So the intention of having this is that the traffic going to these 5 units will stay on the easement as it enters the property and leaves, and will not cross over and interfere with Elm Street townhomes and their parking spaces and their garages and their cars.
Is there something like that there now, or is it just kind of free for all?
It's, It's wide open right now, and the 14-foot easement shows on the plans. However, the landscaping starts out very close to the property line in the front, and it comes to about 13 feet here. So at the back of the property, where you enter this three-family, approximately 13 feet of this 14-foot easement is covered by landscaping. So the people in this house are actually driving across part of the lot area of Elm Street Townhomes. It's not the easement to get into their property right now. So this will be an improvement in some respects to that, but the traffic will stay on this 20 feet. What we're requesting from you this evening is, this project needs site plan review because it's more than 3 units. We obviously have a unique situation with this 14-foot right-of-way to Elm Street and adding more land to it. We wanted to make sure that we had the relief we needed from this board before we spent the money to fully design the drainage system, and also to pay the almost $10,000 in fees that the planning board asks for just to file the site plan review.
We gotta talk to Dad.
$2,000 filing fee and $5,000 peer review fee, and it goes up from there. That's minimum. So the relief that we're asking you for this evening is that we're asking for a finding that the access to this site and the frontage of this site is pre-existing non-conforming. We're asking for a finding to alter that. We're asking for the finding that's not substantially more detrimental to have the traffic for these 5 cars using this easement, when you put that in the light of the fact that we're expanding the size of the access easement to be 20 feet instead of 14. So that change is not substantially more detrimental. We're also asking for a variance for lot area per dwelling unit, as well as FAR. We compared this project. I worked on the permit for Elm Street Townhomes with my father 15 years ago when it was built. This project is designed to be an almost mirror image of that development in terms of lot area per dwelling unit. We have 2,956 square feet of land per unit, and Elm Street Townhomes has 3,096 square feet of land per unit. So the density is almost identical, and the FAR is also very close. So we're asking for relief on the FAR and lot area per dwelling unit, and the basis for that relief is that it's a very difficult site to develop. There's ledge on the site. It also has a significant change in topography from one side to the other, which is going to make it expensive to build on it. And when you combine that with the fact that its size and density and number of units is virtually identical to the condos that are there now, we don't feel that there's any detrimental impact. Thank you.
Counselor, how many guest parking spaces do you have in North Back?
5. We have 15 parking spaces, 3 per unit.
Any other questions?
No.
Jane?
Yes.
Just, the upper left corner is where you're gonna have your drainage system. But you mentioned that the lower right corner is where the water tends to drop off, right? With that.
Yeah.
As I'm looking at it. So how are you going to get that water to go into your?
So we can do it 2 ways. We can design an overflow structure where it would naturally take the same natural path. We would have our proposed grading mimic that which is there now, and the excess would go right into that structure. That's probably the easiest way to go about doing it. We can also relay it into another subsurface structure, and if we had to, we could hard pipe it into that structure as well, provided we met our peak discharges from our pre-development. If they're equal to or less than that in post-development, we meet the performance standards of the stormwater pilot.
So Jim, they didn't want to spend the money yet until we get it. And then they'll go back and see Mr. Duca. But you are asking for a lot in that back lot, I think. But I still want to hear from the counselor and see if we got what he asked for. So, Is there anyone want to speak in favor? Please step forward, state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Ed Flavin. I live at 112 Shore Avenue in Quincy, and I'm the owner of the property that the easement has been granted to. And I tell you, I've known Don Gillespie for many years. I've done a lot of work with him. And he approached me and he told me what he had planned to do. And he needed an easement for my property in order to complete the project. Well, I've owned the property on ELM Street for many, many years. And it's always been sort of an eyesore, that property up there. And there have been people that we hope that wouldn't live there, but they do live there. And it's sort of an area that I think warrants something better than what's there now. So Don told me what he had in mind. He showed me the plans. He showed me what he wanted to do. And I thought it was a big improvement, a huge improvement to what's there right now. I have three apartment buildings right there in the corner. It's a beautiful location. The location warrants something that's better than what's there right now. And I think this is a very good choice. So I decided that I would grant him favorably to the easement to Don. And the reason why I'm doing this is because it runs up along my property. It doesn't really affect the use of my property. I just have a whole area there which is full of trees and shrubbery, which probably should be cut down anyhow. He's going to take it, he's going to kind of beautify it and put shrubberies and a nice berm there and so forth. It certainly would improve my property. It certainly would improve the property, the subject property that he wanted to build on. I think 5 units is perfect. The way he has it, 3 parking spaces per unit, and the impact on the vehicle. I've been around long. I've been doing this for 45 years. The 5 units that's going to be there, the vehicle and the pedestrian impact is going to be practically negligible. I think we all understand that. A car coming here, a car coming there. During the day, there'd be no cars at all. You might find a car in the morning, people going to work. In the afternoon, people coming home from work. During the weekend, it'll be a spotted car here and there. So I think traffic and the access is probably a non-issue. I'm kind of very much in favor of this. I think it's going to improve my property. It's certainly going to improve the property on the ELM Street townhouses, and it's certainly going to improve the property that we want to develop. So with that in mind, I'm in favor of it.
Thank you, Mr. Flavin, and I understand the whole situation there. But we can move the homeless down there, you're saying?
Hope not.
Is that what's been happening back there?
There's been, yes.
Is there anyone else like to speak in favor?
Hi, my name is David Bond. I live at 115 Elm Street, Unit 2. I'll say from the outset, I'm not speaking for the entire
Say again, where
association.
you live?
115 Elm
Elm?
Street, yeah, right next door. I am not speaking for the entire association, but for myself, for my unit. Initially, we did have some concerns with the density, volume, safety concerns with pedestrian movement from that property down to the main street and our own because of the amount of traffic that would be increased several feet in front of our front doors. We've been working with Mr. Gillespie for several weeks now to improve safety features such as the pedestrian walkway, having a designated space to look for people and for them to look for us, as well as measures to beautify the property that I feel will be a balance for making this space more of a private road. I feel like we can still maintain our value in the property because of the beautification, as well as working with him to just with his development, the landscaper and having some say in the fencing and the trees and things like that that are going in front of our property, the things that we're going to see out of our windows. So after objecting to the initial proposal, I think we've come to a really good place in my mind in terms of safety and value for the property.
And the landscaping, you looked at that plan?
We'll continue to look at it. We haven't ironed out every detail yet.
That's a problem.
We have looked at where he's placing lights and trees, and we've ask for an increase in some of the greenery, because we know some of it will disappear, we were worried about that, so.
And it's real important, it gets straightened out here tonight, so you get what you want, being an owner, really.
We did get
It's
it in,
important.
we do have it in email exchanges, so we know what we're all looking at here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else want to speak in favor?
Mary Cronin, I'm at 115 Elm Street as well, unit number 5. And I just wanted to say that I'm in agreement as well, mainly with all the points that Damon has already just brought up as far as making it, you know, what's there currently is not acceptable, and making it a better property value for everyone, including ourselves. And we have worked a lot over the last few weeks, and as has already been said, the safety concerns, and I think we do need to finalize the exact landscaping and fencing. One of my initial concerns was looking, right now we have quite a few large trees, and if those were all gonna come down, we wanted to make sure that we had a nice balance of whether it's fencing or trees that would provide the same amount of privacy between the different properties.
Besides the trees, what didn't you get from Councilor Harrington?
To be honest, we did get a lot of what we asked for,
Okay,
so
thanks.
I also am in agreement.
Thanks. Is there anyone else like to speak in favor? Second call, third call? So that part of the hearing is closed. Counselor. Where's Counselor? Oh, there he is, right. Andrew Lee, did you get a letter from him? Okay. I'll put it in the record. I'd like to hear from you right now, if I might, on,
Yeah,
all right, if you don't want, that's fine. I'll get back to council, thank you. Is there anyone opposed or undecided? Please step forward, state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, I'm Karen Robinson, 115 Elm Street, Unit 1. And I oppose the variance as long as Mr. Gillespie wants to use our driveway to access the units. As you may recall, I was here a couple of weeks ago, and 123 Elm Street was here because they have a garage that's condemned, and they are trying to fix it, and there's concern in the community about there not being enough parking as a result. And so I've asked Mr. Gillespie and his attorney to see if he can work with the folks that abut Parmenter Place, because the property at 113 Elm Street also abuts Parmenter Place, which is maybe a private street, but it is a street as opposed to using what I'm told is a right-of-way. We've been given a copy of the will that makes reference, that's being used as the basis for the easement or right-of-way, but it's not legible. So we don't really know what it gives, and we're not sure what we're agreeing to if we were to agree to allow this plan that Mr.
I can't
Gillespie
interrupt you,
wants
what do you mean it's not legible?
Well, I have a copy of it if you'd like to take a look.
Yeah, I would. I think all the board members would see it.
I didn't make copies for everybody,
no,
but I
one's
think
fine.
I've got 2 sets.
We share. Thanks. Oh, yeah.
Put it back there on this.
Yeah, that's when I can't do that.
So, using the driveway would mean, as my neighbor has said, cutting down some very large adult trees. Those trees provide significant privacy for 103, I think, Elm Street, that's Mr. Flavin's rental units, and 115. I would hate to see those adult trees go. I'm concerned about safety, but most of all, I think there's another opportunity. So I don't oppose the units being built, I just think there's another way to get to them that doesn't involve using our driveway, and that's what I would encourage us to consider. My understanding is that in order to get a variance, the builder has to meet certain requirements showing substantial hardship, and I don't think he's shown that here.
He says he has an easement.
He says he has an easement, and
For
it's
that
based on
property?
that will that I can't read.
I mean, lawyers, if I might interrupt, Mr. Harrington, did you figure that out in court already?
The 14-foot easement is on Miss Robinson's condominium site plan, which was dated 2004, so I think that whether or not this easement actually exists, I think is a huge red herring.
Okay, thank you.
And, we're in the process of trying to find out whether it's really a legitimate easement. As long as it was this three,
When did you buy the
Unit.
property?
when did I buy it? 4 years ago, and it was nearly vacant by the time I moved there. So to the extent that there was anybody using it, it was one car. So we're gonna be talking.
No, I'm just saying, on your plot plan where you bought your property.
Oh, there is a reference to a right-of-way. There's no
Right.
question that there's a reference to a right-of-way, but what
That's
it
what our
refers to
paperwork
and whether
says, easement
Parmenter
right-of-way.
Street affects that right-of-way, now that there's another way to access the property through Parmenter Street. I don't know whether Parmenter Street even existed at the time of the will, when the alleged right-of-way was created. So these are legal issues that I'd rather us not have to fight about. I'd like us to work together and find a way. I've reached out to the attorney at 123 Elm Street. He's certainly receptive to talking, and there may have been some discussions about it. I would urge that continue. I just want to say that there are going to be 5 units built, but each unit is going to have a 2-car garage.
Mhm.
So we're talking about at least 10 cars now, and now with extra 5 spaces, 15 cars that will be added.
Would you like 5 more, 20 spaces?
We'd like none. We'd like them to use Parmenter Street, in which case there's nobody using that driveway.
You
And
want
it
them to
and it
block
still
you in?
allows the, excuse me?
You want them to block you in when they're gonna park on the right of way in the corner when there's.
Those are all
second car?
considerations.
Yeah,
Those are all considerations, and if
Yeah.
you use Parmenter Place, that's not an issue. Thank you.
thank you. Is there anyone, is there anyone else opposed or undecided? Step forward, state your name and address for the record, please.
Okay, my name's Andrew Lee. I'm owner of 115 Elm Street, Unit 3.
If I might right now, just grab it. Is this a letter you sent?
Yes.
Oh, this is, you got here. Take it out of the record.
Okay, I get a statement from the owner of Unit 4, Mr. Ho Yin Ren. Anyway, he would like me to read it to the board here. In the statement that he makes, he said, "The changes that the developer wants to make to our property are going to affect our condominium management in long term. Under the current offer that the developer provided, I do not agree to give the developer permission to make any physical changes to our property." At the end of it.
And who is that?
That is from the owner of Unit 4. Unfortunately, he cannot make it here tonight.
And you, what unit are you in?
I'm in Unit 3, sir.
Okay, so that's your neighbor?
Yes, sir.
All right, if you could turn that into the secretary, please, the clerk, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
As for my position, I haven't stated the position, I'm sorry. Yes. I'm still debating. I'm sort of like right on the fence, sir. Before today, before I spoke with Mr. Harrington and also the developer, sorry, I didn't understand the whole thing on the pros and the cons that, as an owner of 115 would be getting on the property changes. So after I spoke with them today, I get a lot more open, a lot more to that, and so at this point, I'm more like 50-50, sir. So I'm sorry.
No, that's good. So you never knew what was going on?
Well, I knew some stuff, but I was away on a business trip, so the only thing that I get through the communication is email communications.
Was
So-
it fun?
Yes. Yes. So today I get to speak with them a little bit more, and I get to understand a little bit more, and like I said, originally my position is I object any changes to our property, but at this point I'm more like right on the fence, sir.
50-50.
Yes, sir. Thank
Thanks.
you. Thank you.
Is there anyone else? Opposed or undecided? Opposed or undecided? Second call. Third call, call upon hearing closed. Looks like, Counselor, can I hear from you, please? Yep.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, Brad Kroll, Ward 2 City Councilor. This particular project, we have had 3, if not 4, types of neighborhood input sessions, meetings. I mean, folks have been afforded the opportunity to be involved, and I think you've heard, you know, a distribution and dialogue from, you know, those who see it as good, those who see it as don't. But the reality of the situation, as I see it, is it's a very awkward layout. That's no fault of anyone except the original property owner who districted out the property the way that she did. You know, we have a proposal before us that, in my opinion, is high quality. It's gonna be done with high quality construction. I feel like it's tangible to the residents. They have a pretty good understanding where he's going. I'm just interpreting kind of the dialogue flow with the developer and my people, the residents. They also have asked for certain mitigation measures. I mean, most of them are pretty reasonable, right? I mean, it's all about pedestrian and public safety, and, you know, Mr. Gillespie has consented to meet those objectives. And I guess what we're dealing with now is whether or not you folks feel that, you know, the density of the project is an issue. You know, what I've heard I've heard both sides tonight, but I know I can speak to the fact that folks wanna see something going there. They wanna have an idea of what it is.
Right.
For sure. So that's been essentially the Reader's Digest version of the 3 to 4.
Counselor, I know you didn't wanna hear this, but the landscape, did you guys look at that with the neighbors, or you just?
Well, we talked through with Mr. Gillespie prior to, and that was one of the concerns was,
And it is.
you know, they want to replant some of the larger mature trees that are there. Actually, they don't want them to go, but, you know, it's a long story, but Mr. Gillespie has, you know, I think you were talking names of trees last time, to the best of my understanding.
We did have a landscape architect design the project, so we do have details as far as what type of trees are gonna be planted, the size of them, when they're planted, and that's all detailed in the plan. And in working with the council and the neighbors, I've, you know, said that these plans, once approved, will be, if something needed to be changed between now and when the project was done, I would be willing to do that. I feel like I've done everything I can to make sure that the neighbors were happy with the planting, the fencing.
Right, I mean, what I've heard from some neighbors, and they probably don't know, and
Yeah.
that's why. I don't think the board is questioning you. I think
Right.
the board's thinking like, some of these neighbors don't know what's gonna be put there. And as long as everybody's happy here with the council, and we can put that in there, that you'll deal with the council on any changes, and Mr. Duca,
Yes,
as far as landscape, and make it right.
I'd be happy to do that, Mr. Chairman.
I think the other side of that too, I mean, Marty, you've been around longer than I have, but, you know, sometimes you don't always have the
Hey.
It's true, more ways than one, right? But, you know, the reality is.
35-inch striper today, instead of lobster. What's better than that in Quincy, right?
But, getting back to this, they, you know, he's pushed an open dialogue, and as a city council, I mean, that's all I can ask for. There has been a fluid, you know, dialogue between the residents.
And we've talked a couple of times about this project, and I just wanna, I mean, it's, are the neighbors happy and everyone's happy that's living there and paying these condo fees and buying these condos and seeing what's gonna go behind them, and what their landscape is gonna be like. That's real important to a neighbor. When I'm buying something, I bought it, and another development, what's gonna happen? Well, no kind of trees you want, shrubs, what?
Agreed to all that, but, I mean, again, getting back to basic principles, something is going, you're either going to continue to look at what you're looking at, which I think you've been over there, we
Yeah.
probably both agree, leaves a lot to be desired.
It does, and it's in the middle of all condos. I mean, it's apartments everywhere, right, so what can go there?
I mean, I feel like there's a pretty clear picture
Good store.
as to, you know, material-wise, what you're gonna be looking at. So again, that's kind of a summation of the dialogue that's transpired over at least 3, if not 4, neighborhood opportunities for input, so.
And we put it off to council, so you guys could sit down and mitigate what you had to mitigate to this meeting.
And it has, I mean, there's
So you're
been
happy with,
quite a bit of email exchanges, yeah. I mean, I feel the dialogue's been fruitful, leading up to, I think you sent me that last email, maybe last evening, so. I mean, I've been on the trail, but they've been kind of hashing out what it is specifically that they were looking for, so.
so you're happy with it.
Yeah, I mean, again.
With the dialogue and everything that's going on, right,
100%, I mean, it's an awkward layout, for sure,
Yeah, it
but
is.
something's going to go there,
exactly.
so.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Thank you for your
Questions?
input. Any council, any questions for council? No. Thank you, council. So I guess we're at where we're at. It's got, it's just, the only thing when you put in a apartment building like that is the landscaping plan as it's drawn. And if the council is happy with it, I'm happy with
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I think what's there now is unacceptable. I think it's been established, the question about the easement, if it's in the condominium docs for the, the condo that is there now, I think that's something we can rely on, even if the will itself is kind of hard to read.
Right.
You know? So, I think I'm going to be voting in favor today. I think it has enough parking spaces. Now, I know that could be a double-edged sword, that, we have too much parking, too many cars going up and down the street, but we're talking about 15 spaces for 5 units. There's already 3 units there, so I understand it. The engineering is going to be superb, I'm sure, and that's going to help things, so I'll be voting in favor.
it. And like you say, the more the better to get them up. There's no place for an Elm Street to park.
Yes, and that's another story for another day.
Yeah, that is for the next parking lot, right?
Yeah.
Mr. O'Brien?
A couple of points that were raised during objections here was Mr. Lee speaking for his neighbor. The value of your property will increase when they take down that thing in your backyard. I think the traffic will have a minimal impact. Anything that's gonna be in there is gonna be better than what's there. I mean, that's a sin that sits there. The other thing is that the access and permit to place, I think that's something that they were talking about with the garage, which I think doesn't really impact this if they can get in and get out in the same location. And if issues occur, I'm sure that they'll be able to rectify them once they can see it built. I'm a firm believer that when you see things there, you can adjust on the fly to make things safer if that's what it is. And I wouldn't think it's a safety factor if you're gonna have it wider than it actually is, and you're gonna plant it and light it. I think that would be a vast improvement over the access for everybody, including all the units in 115. That, again, that's a personal thing. So I'll be voting in favor.
Thank you. Mr. Chin?
I'm glad to hear that there's been good communication, good dialogue. Sounds like there's a general consensus. There are some folks who aren't completely happy, but I'll be voting in favor of it.
Mr. McGrath?
I can see Mr. Gillespie's a stand-up guy, he's met with the neighbors, and that's what we can only ask for, is that there's been dialogue between them, and I'm hoping that all the expectations are met, drew what they were asking for, and I'm sure he will do that. He's a credible builder and developer in the city. I'll be voting in favor.
Thank you, Mr. McGrath. If we could have a motion and just put in there that council will have some input on the, with this particular, yeah. Is there a key that we got? Yeah, I didn't read it. Did I miss that? I got it right there. Did I read this?
Yes,
I thought I did.
you did.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Mr. Chairman, amendment 15-045, WELBY Builders LLC, Donald Gillespie manager, for a variance finding to construct a 5-unit 3-story residential development on the premises number 115 Elm Street in Quincy. I make a motion to grant the variance and find the finding on certain conditions that the landscaping be reviewed by building department director of special services and the ward council.
Seconded?
Second.
On the motion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Thank you, Counselor.
Thank you very much.
We take 5 minutes and resume. Thanks.